The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
For you.
Fight the unseen wars in our minds and in our homes together.
All right, welcome back to Check Event Nation. I'm Turbo, and today we're diving into something most of us don't talk about out loud, but it's always there. And with me today, I've got the president and CEO of Check Event, Michael Carmichael, and also the winner of our Brantley Gilbert guitar raffle, Mr. Robert Peterson. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
I'm
I wish
fantastic.
you could have got somebody better than me, but I'll fill in wherever I have to.
All right, so this first segment is going to be spotting the wounds that no one sees, breaking the silence. And then we're going to go into segment 2, which is the brain on trauma, tools for rewiring, and also kind of a mission for the end of the episode. And then segment 3 will be survivor skills for civilian life. And we'll kind of talk about Team Room throughout all of this as well. You kind of want to explain what Team Room is there, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, Team Room is loosely based on Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay. But it's not just about for veterans struggling with suicide. There will be suicide prevention programmed into every meeting once they get up and running, and the group is a cohesive group. So Team Room's really about camaraderie. Like, let's get back on the team. Let's surround ourselves with veterans, just the same type of people that we were when we were in, the National Guard or the active duty or like that. So it's really a program that's about camaraderie. And as I look at organizations that I think are relevant let me define relevant. If your organization's membership is growing, then you're relevant. If your organization's members are dwindling, like mostly because people are aging out, for instance, the American Legion and the VFW, what's missing there, and then what is relevant about an organization like the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association? I think one of the biggest keys is camaraderie. It's doing things together that are meaningful and routine. And so let's do some of that. So we came up with Team Room.
Absolutely. And we've been planning this for a while now. I know me, you, and several other people have had lots of meetings, and we actually had our very first event down in Florida last weekend. Off to a little bit of a bumpy start, but we're learning, and I think it's going to be a great thing as we go.
Yeah. Well, let's bring Robert into this. Robert, what do you think about organizations' relevancy versus what would make a veteran support organization relevant versus not relevant?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, so not only my vet, but my dad's a vet, and the Legion and VFW keep wanting him to be a part, but for him, he says all they are is a social club, and so they just want to drink at the bar, and he doesn't drink, and so that eliminates half of the activities they want him to participate in, and so he doesn't feel like there's a lot of value, and yet I know he's pretty lonely, and so he needs that idea of camaraderie would definitely fit the model that he's looking for. He's got a couple guys that he meets with online, reads through some different books. And so he's doing that virtually, but it'd be pretty good to have a place that he could do that, in person and be shaking hands and hugging. And, I think camaraderie to me is doing life together, right? We're to have a close enough relationship where we can actually talk about the stuff, right? The stuff that none of us talk about. And
that's
really
right.
Inside stuff.
And I know you're in and around Denver. Is that right? Are you close to Denver? Or are you in
Yes,
Denver?
sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
the northern
down here in the
suburbs.
South, we all like you go into a restaurant in the morning. I don't care if it's McDonald's or a local restaurant like Martha's here in Murray, Kentucky. You're going to see big groups of good old farm boys, and they're hanging out together. And you'll see these guys every day. And when you think about it, I'll bet you if one of them misses a meeting, someone's going to check on them, see, hey, what's going on? What's up? But from a mental health standpoint, we all have a normal, right? And if you were around people in a routine way, we all get used to each other's normal, and that's part of our camaraderie, right? So learning that is something that you have to be present to win, unlike a Brantley Gilbert guitar, where you just got called out of the blue. So yeah, that was a couple of things that I was thinking about with that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think team room is going to be a great thing once we get it up and going, and getting more leaders involved and trying to open up team rooms in their local areas. I think that's our next little project, is finding some local leaders, which that might be a little tough, but we'll get it done.
That's right. We've built it. We've been working on it for is it about 3 months, Turbo?
Oh, we've talked about it longer than that, but we've actually been doing the planning. About 3 months, 3-4 months. Yeah.
Yeah. And then not this weekend, not the last weekend in June, but the previous weekend was actually, I think it was the 20th, was our very first team room down in Clearwater, Florida. One of our team members who helped us, really put the thing together and talk about, let's build a playbook so that we can hand it out to people that want to do something meaningful for veterans. Because we get that a lot in the Check of That booth. What can we do to help, or what can I do to help? So I can't just say, hey, go have a coffee social with some veterans and let me know how that works.
No, I think the way we got it kind of laid out is,
we had to build it.
Bringing guys together is just part of it. But like one of the things that I tried focusing on, and I think that you really agreed with, was once we get the guys and girls coming together and we build that trust and we build that camaraderie, that's when we start bringing in, and not every week and not every single time we meet up, but from time to time, bringing in experts from VA, from mental health centers, and talk to people about suicide and give them resources. And not just about suicide, but it could be drug abuse, it could be alcohol abuse. It's just any subject matter that the members want to talk about. Bring in experts from time to time and share their knowledge. Because a lot of guys that I've ran into just don't know where to find this information, or they don't know what the VA offers, for instance. So I think would be a good way for us to get that information out to the public once we build trust with the people that come to the team room.
Absolutely. I love that.
That's a great point, because I think hanging out with some of those guys that do the breakfast together, there's a big distrust of the government, which bleeds into the VA. And so they're not sure they trust the VA services to have their back. Especially here in Colorado, you're a hunter and you grew up hunting, and then you served in the military, and then you go to the VA and say, man, I'm struggling with this, and they want to take away your guns. And so guys are hesitant to have trust.
Right.
A lot of that stuff.
They lose their audience, don't they, Robert?
I absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like public speaking 101, understand your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you stand up in front of veterans or over the phone with a veteran, and don't get me wrong, there is a time and place when that firearm or that bottle of pills or that thing becomes a temptation to end your life. All right, now it's time to lock it up.
Absolutely.
But if you just say, hey, guy's not feeling well, step one, lethal means safety. We're going to lock up all your stuff. Well, actually, that's not really what's going to happen. Is you're probably going to have to call the veteran that you're talking to back because he's going to hang up on you, or she's going to hang up on you. You lost credibility with them.
Well, see, and that's why I don't want to focus solely on VA programs because,
That's
like,
right.
even though I think the VA is a good resource, we all know there's issues there as well. But talking about the firearms, for instance, there's a organization here in I don't want to say it's not Dillon. Anyway, it's here in Montana, like an hour from me. It's called the Veterans Food Pantry, and he's actually part of a pilot program to where if a veteran feels themselves that they want to get their firearms or their weapons out of their house, they can voluntarily call him, and he'll lock it in a safe until the vet is ready to get them back. He doesn't have a predetermined time. He doesn't have all this bureaucracy. Is like, if you want to do this, you call me, and when you're ready, I'll give them back to you.
Right.
It doesn't get
Well,
law
the other
enforcement involved in
piece of
anything
that
like
is-
that.
The other piece of that is what it does to the vet himself, right? Even if you're seeing a counselor or a therapist, and the therapist says, "Well, I don't think you should have those in your house. I've had them in my house my whole entire life, and there's never been an issue." Now all of a sudden, it's actually another wound. like I've seen it with my son-in-law going through marital counseling, and they recommended that he surrender him to somebody, and that actually caused more hurt for him, more trauma, because now there's a distrust. There's this thing hanging over his head like a bigger cloud than he was dealing with before, and it's so frustrating. And I get it, right? It's dangerous, and like Michael said, there's absolutely a time and place where that temptation needs to be taken away. But in the process, it's I think in a lot of cases we're causing more trauma than we're helping.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed. And as it just came up, it's probably a good thing to capture and share with the program and add to the program of Team Room, so that it's something that we could, something that could be talked about. That could be one of the things that you talk about in every meeting, or if you have like a sponsorship style buddy team sorted out, like, hey man, you've been acting a little off, you've been doing this and that. I'm not telling you I want to take your guns, but I'm here if that thing ever becomes a temptation.
But if you have a relationship, right? If you have
That's
a
right.
relationship, you have trust, then when that conversation happens, it's coming from a friend. It's not coming from an outsider or a doctor or the government. And so I think that's a fantastic approach to build. It's really about the relationships, right? The camaraderie that you can build, the trust you can have, so that you can not just deal with your junk, but somebody else can call you out when you're acting different than you're normal.
I love that. Yeah. All right, Turbo, get us back on track.
Sorry.
Oh man,
Got a couple minutes before our first break, but
I've got a script, but at the same time, I love it when I don't have to go off a script.
Yeah.
So this is great. So anyway, it's been going great so far. I love the conversation. I remember as well as you guys do coming back home from Iraq. I looked like I was fine, but inside I was a pressure cooker. It took 10 years. But finally, my wife looked at me and said, and I've told this multiple times on the show, my wife came to me and said that she's scared that I'm going to kill myself and her and the kids. And that was the moment that my invisible wounds almost became something you read in the paper. So spotting the wounds that no one sees, or like trouble sleeping, that's related to hypervigilance, angry outbursts, the fight or flight mode stuck on, avoiding crowds, survival instinct, numbness, disassociation. And it's not just combat vets, it's medics, MPs, survivors of MST, which is one that hardly anybody ever talks about. If you've served, you've got a story. And you're not broken, you're injured. And just like any injury, it can heal, but only if you admit it's there. So this week, I'd like you to say one true thing out loud, start tracking your triggers, and ask your family how they're really doing.
I love that. And just so anybody that might have missed it, MST is military sexual trauma. And sadly, these days, men account for more incidents of being raped than women. Can you believe that? And what makes it even worse is because pride, or they're ashamed or whatever, they almost never report their perpetrator, so it only gets worse. They're getting away with it.
Nope. It's
So,
MST is definitely a thing that I kind of would like to take somehow I would like to make that a focus some way, along with everything else we're doing, because I don't believe there's enough organizations talking about it. I don't know how we would approach that, because that is a very sensitive subject, but I think somehow we need to figure out something we can do to get it out, to get the word out there to everybody and say, hey, we know this happens. We're sorry, but we're here.
Right.
You know?
Well, I got a couple of guests that I can line up. High degree of confidence. They would go on and be brave. Hey, man, we're trying to save veterans' lives. We're trying to make a difference.
Absolutely.
You do that by being honest and being brave. But I think that they are both honest and brave. And I'm actually thinking about a female and a male who suffer from MST during their service. So
yeah, I'd love to have a conversation.
We can cue that up, but it's certainly a very powerful thing that is way underneath the shadow of PTSD, you shouldn't even say PTSD. Like understanding your audience, talking about taking guns away from veterans. It should be PTS, post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever I'm around medical professionals, I always, like, hey, I can talk your guys' language too, PTS. So let's all be a little more sensitive. It's not a disorder. PTS, but PTS, traumatic brain injury, those are the things that cast the longest shadow in mental health vernacular for veterans, for sure. But MST is so powerful. Definitely need to tee up something with regards to that.
No. So I'm loving the conversation, fellas. I'm gonna take us off for a short break. While this video plays, your video and your audio is gonna be cut off. There is a little box on the right-hand side that says private chat if you want to say something in chat. But for the next 4 minutes or so, take the time to go get some water or whatever you got to do.
Cool.
All right, welcome back to Check Event Nation, and that was Die Tired. I've fallen in love with those guys over the past couple of months, and I always play one of their songs sometime in the show. I'm hoping I can reach out to them and get those guys on here one day. So
That'd
for
be
this
great.
next,
Did you see what they were doing in the video? They were circling it up, right?
that's right, that's right.
Just like AA, just like Al-Anon, just like Team Room, and it's that fellowship, it's that camaraderie that we're hoping to achieve. So that's how powerful it is. It surrounds us, and we may not even realize the strength that we can get from the people who surround us.
No, that's right, and I think that video, the video and the lyrics together, just show a powerful message that I think a lot of guys really need to hear. That's why I play it every time. And don't worry, John. I know I told you I play some of your stuff. It's coming up, brother. I promise.
He's talking to our musical ambassador, John Major. So awesome. Well, hey, let's talk a second about why is Robert Peterson here? And so one, we finally sold the 500 ticket to Brantley. Not finally, it seemed like it was a blink of an eye, because who wouldn't want Brantley Gilbert's guitar? But we sold the 500 ticket. I reached out to him. He didn't answer, some weirdo calling him. So what I did was I sent him a text and I announced the winner. And he's like, seriously? Well, yeah, seriously. So Turbo and I talked about having Robert on the show just to talk about the guitar and congratulate him. But then Robert started sharing a little bit, didn't you, buddy? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I shared that I was a vet myself, and part of why I wanted to support your organization is because my sister was a vet and she took her own life last year. And so what you're doing is pretty personal. And then I've mentioned earlier in the show, my dad's also a vet. And so anybody that's out there trying to take care of, our brothers and sisters in arms and trying to deal with this stuff that obviously other organizations aren't having as much success with yet. Right. And so it's still a challenge that a lot of guys and gals are facing in dealing with all of these things that are happening. And so it's personal. I didn't give the money to win the guitar. I gave the money because I wanted to help your organization and believed in your cause. So,
well, thank you so much. And hey, man, I salute you, because you're being brave. You're being honest. You're being brave. And I already knew what you were going to say, but still, when you said it, goosebumps. So
Yeah,
thank you, man.
definitely hard to share.
And
Hard to hear.
definitely value added to the show.
So one thing that we hear a lot is after something happens, a lot of people say they wish they would have seen signs. They wish they would have known. Wish they could have done something differently. Is there anything that you wish people had done differently, and what would you say to another family that was worried about their veteran?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to talk. You've got to say it. I spoke to my sister on Sunday night, and I turned to my wife and I said, that was the weirdest phone call we've had. And in the phone call, I asked if she was going to her next doctor visit with her husband. And I made the assumption that her husband was aware, was paying attention was seeing what was happening. And then we got the call Wednesday that she'd taken her life. And in my heart of hearts, I said I should reach out to my mother-in-law. I should reach out to somebody else. And I didn't do it. I just assumed that, somebody else was taking her to a doctor's appointment. Somebody else was seeing what I was hearing. We just talked on the phone, and it was that out of normal that Michael mentioned at the beginning. She was out of normal, and I didn't tell anybody else. And so I absolutely regret that. And absolutely, I have no idea if it would have made a difference. but I definitely feel like if families that are out there and something's out of normal, need to talk about it, need to bring it
Hey,
up.
brother. We can't make a difference for what happened, but we are making a difference right now for one of the 44 that we could lose tomorrow. Okay?
Amen.
And this talking point or this teaching point, when somebody's not acting right, one of the first things you should do is if it is serious and your spidey senses are tingling that, hey, this is a person who's in crisis, this is a person in distress, ask the question, are you going to hurt yourself? Don't phrase it as a negative connotation, like you would never hurt yourself, would you? Well, you're not going to get the answer that they want to give because they'll just kind of go along with your little charade. Ask them, hey, you seem off. There's a lot of stuff that's weighing you down right now. You're going through a lot. Are you thinking about hurting yourself? And then shut your mouth and listen and don't judge. Be there. I have a lot of conversations like that with near strangers. Often in picture being somewhere that's supposed to be fun, like at a NASCAR race, and somebody that's a near stranger says, hey, I don't know why. I don't want to hurt myself, but I feel like I need to hurt myself. I feel like I'm going to hurt myself. Can you imagine? So when it's somebody that you know, even if it's somebody you don't know, if your spidey senses are tingling like that, ask the question. And you, like the first 3 or 4 times it happened, and I went through that, and the person who was sharing, that suicidal veteran who was sharing, they were so freaking relieved to have said it. They were relieved to have shared that with another person, and they were no longer holding on to this little thing inside of them. And that made them feel a lot better. Now, there's a lot more things to do to make sure that somebody's safe, like go through the Columbia 9, which is in all of our literature. But absolutely, Robert, you hit it on the head. No regrets. We can't change the past. We can try to change one of the 44, the outcome for one that's going to end their life by suicide tomorrow or succumb to their struggles with suicide. But ask the question and don't be judgmental. Listen.
And Rob, I just want to thank you again for being here. I know it's not easy to share that, but one of the things that I learned in therapy, and one of the reasons why I do this podcast, is because storytelling absolutely saves lives. I believe that wholeheartedly, and just thank you for sharing.
No, absolutely. Like the fact that there's 44, every time Michael says it, it's like a jab in the gut. So anything we can do to stop that from that
where does this 44 come from? Everybody's like, well, I thought it was 22. I'm doing 22 push-ups a day to prevent veteran suicide. I'll be like, hey, keep doing your push-ups. Well, why don't you go call 44 your friends or 22 your friends?
Oh,
nice. That would go a lot. That would actually do something to prevent veteran suicide. But so 44 is based on a study that the University of Alabama and Duke did in with the American Warrior Partnership, and in trying to really identify the problem of veteran suicide. First, we have to define the problem, and that is, how bad is the epidemic of veteran suicide? So the VA's unpublished number, the data's out there, but you got to get it with your calculator and do the math yourself, because frankly, I think it's so embarrassing they don't want to own their own shit. Mm-hmm. Own it.
Amen.
The VA's number is 140,435 of our brothers and sisters, of our nation's heroes, 140,000 plus have ended their life by suicide since 9/11. So deep dive, Duke did the analysis. The University of Alabama did the data collection. They found that the VA's numbers underreported by a factor of 2.4. Biggest reason, if you look in the methodology of it, the biggest reason is the VA doesn't count a suicide if it's a drug overdose. In spite of having the data, whether they were swinging for the fence, trying to check out, or if they were just trying to get high. You see what I mean? We could be a lot more thoughtful. So, but what does that mean? Like, let's put some context around this whole thing. In the worst 4 years of Vietnam, we lost 60,000 service members in combat. 60,000 in really most were accounted for in about 4 years. Since 9/11, think about, gosh, that's 24 years now. How many service members have we lost since 9/11? Robert, give me a guess.
5,000.
5,000. That's a really, really good guess. The actual answer is just over 7,000. And the Pentagon website actually has it. And that's even including contractors. So wait a minute. We've lost 7,000 in combat. And when you apply 2.4 to the 140,000, which is the VA's number, we're over 360,000. For every one service member we've lost on the battlefield, we've lost 50 to suicide. Are you freaking kidding me, man?
That should be unacceptable.
Are you kidding? It is to me. And I think it is to the group here, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. So anyway,
absolutely.
A little background. I don't mean to rant. I hope it was productive, but that's where 44 a day comes from. And that is grounded in reality, not I heard it and I'm going to go and wake up tomorrow and do 44 push-ups. I still do 144 push-ups. Just kidding. I can do 10.
Come on.
Anyway.
That's coming from a CW4 too, by the way.
Yeah.
So he does 144 push-ups.
It means I'm
sure it's not
supposed
200.
to be a good golfer, but
I'm not sure I've done 144 push-ups since I was discharged.
I tell you what, Mike. I give Mike Mess crap all the time about it, but out of all the chief warrant officers I've met, Mike, you still live it, and you do.
What's that?
You still live like a CW4.
No, you don't even know what that means, Turbo. You're not read on the program.
But the reason why I say that is because when we go to these events, you find your guys, right? You find the specialists, your E5s, your E6s, and you give us the mission, and then you go and hang out with the 2 stars and the current the command sergeant majors and line up the next event while we're all taking care of what's got to happen today.
That's right. You're doing the best you can with what I give you.
Hey, we make it happen, man. We make it happen.
Right. But that's a whole side story to get into. But I will share one thing with you. This belt buckle right here. Okay. A guy by the name of Bryant Fontenot. That's the old warrant officer squash bug from before 2004. Before we were wearing branches on our BDUs. He had told me that he had only given away 3 in his whole career. And Bryant he was a CW5, and I hate CW5s, not Bryant, but generally. And he told me that he had only given away 3 of those buckles in his career. And he was the senior Black Hawk driver in the Army. So what a long and distinguished career. So I hope that I tried hard enough to be, one of 3 guys that really stood out in a guy like Brian Fontenot's career. Love the guy. But being a warrant officer it's a different thing. You guys don't know what you're talking about. We're not all golfing, but anyways, back to you, Turbo. Get us back on track.
You kind of stay true to the never see you around thing, though. I'll tell you that sometimes.
I'm busy. Doing the work of half a guy. I mean, 5 guys. I'm doing the work of 5 guys.
Oh, no kidding, man. I'm just giving you trouble. I'm just making sure you live up to the CW4 name. All right, that's all.
The only thing that means is you're entitled to a 30-minute nap per dot in the military by regulation. Not really, but if you ask me, it holds true. So that means each day I'm entitled to a 2-hour nap.
Oh, man.
From being grumpy.
I only need 90 minutes.
You know what, though? I tell you what, and I know we're getting off again, but I got to share this. When we were in Charlotte, we got back from the activation from the booth, and we come back to the camper, and Mike's like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna go take a nap," and I'm like, "All right, cool." And then me and him went and done something later. I can't remember what it was. His naps are not like I'm going to go in there and go to sleep. His naps are, hey, I'm going to come in here and just hang out and not do anything for 30 minutes and recharge my batteries. And then we're going to go knock out some more stuff.
Right. Hey, after 30 minutes of NASCAR, everybody that doesn't understand what we really do. And if you don't know, we're literally out there hugging and crying with strangers, hearing their story of tragedy and how they lost their veteran. So at the end of hugging and crying with strangers all day, you need a little break to reset.
Absolutely. Definitely takes a toll.
Get your mind screwed back on right.
Yep, definitely takes a toll. And I just want everybody to know that I am kind of just Joshua and Mike over here. He does a lot to help our guys and girls. And he does. If it wasn't for him, this organization wouldn't exist. It really wouldn't. And he's also been a great mentor for me. And I know you kind of chuckle when I say that, but it's true.
Well, thanks for that.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're going to take us another short little break. The song I'm going to play next is actually from John Major. It's called Cocaine Kiss, and we recorded this at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So hopefully you guys enjoy.
Yep, I did the intro, and this was the release of the song. Great song, great artist, John Major.
No, the intro's not there. I cut that out for the video.
It's okay. See a guy in a cowboy hat standing there. That would be me.
Right. Why is it not playing? Okay, there we go.
Well, I think the devil lives in Nevada. Just met his ex-wife and well, she had a body curved like a back road, and her eyes could cut through steel. It was music to my ear when she called my name. That silk smooth skin drove me insane. That cocaine kiss is right where it is, raising that hair on my skin. When our lips touch, I get tense. I can't help but to pull her in. Don't get me wrong, she's bad to the bone, a certified 10. But that cocaine kiss, her name could have been Medusa, the way she had me. I couldn't help but to stop and stare. The blue flame eyes melted my heart when she run her finger through my hair. Felt so right, it felt so wrong. Good Lord, it must be a sin. Before I made a beeline to that door, she turned around and hit me again with that cocaine kiss. That's right where it is, raising every hair on my skin. When our lips touch, I get tense. I can't help but to pull her in. Don't get me wrong, she's bad to the bone, a certified 10. But that cocaine kiss. Whoa! You hearing that
thing I really like is kisses and something I'm curious about.
You know,
I ain't never tried it.
as he was saying a while ago, you know, we're doing this thing for Check Event. We actually met at a benefit, and we talked for probably 2 or 3 minutes, and I played a show out in Franklin, Tennessee, and then he offered me to come on board and help out Check Event. I thought it was a great idea and a great opportunity to be able to talk to people and you know, just kind of be there for our veterans. I mean, I feel that's, you know, the least we can do is that, right? You know, and so I told him, you know, when we were up there, there's one song that I wrote about for my grandpa. Now, I didn't get to finish this song before he passed away, but this song really means a lot to me, and I feel it also fits the bill with Check Event. So if y'all don't mind, I'd love to play that song for you.
Yeah.
All right, you'll have to wait till the next
So this
break to
one's
hear that
$5
next
to
one.
listen to.
Bait and switch. That's
All
great,
right.
man. Great stuff.
Oh yeah. So welcome back to Check Event Nation. That was John Major. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, TikTok, just about everywhere. And he comes out to a lot of the events that we host as well. So go check him out. He's a great guy. Great music also.
And it said John Major Music across social media. And he was just nominated again for the second year. I think I hope I'm not saying this wrong. Grand Ole Opry Song of the Year is what he has a nomination for right now. And he's, I think he's a finalist, maybe in the top 6 of over 80,000 people who were trying to get that. That's the kind of talent that guy has. And you just saw him and know where his heart's at with regards to hanging out with us and helping veterans. But John Major Music, great guy.
Yeah, great guy. I love him to death. And we definitely got to get together and film some actual music videos next time we're all together. I'd love to do that. But anyway,
I'm not waiting for you. I'm going to shoot it myself.
And hey, you can't do that without me. Come on.
I'll watch a YouTube video. Tell me how.
All right, so let's kind of go to the survival skills for civilian life in this segment. It's not boot camp. It's real life after service. We all got bills, you got resumes, routines, benefits. So here's some quick little survival tools that I found that help me and have been told to help other guys as well. Know the system before you need it. Do some research into the VA and other things you're looking into using, and learn as much as you can about it before you apply. A VRE, for example, the veterans, it's the education deal, rehabilitation education, I think is what it's called. A lot of guys, they apply for that not knowing all the finite details, and they get denied for it. Part of that is doing research and learning what those advisors need to hear from you and see from you in your emails, so you can get that training to get your bachelor's degree, to get a master's, get whatever degree it is to move on to a new career field and get you out of that troublesome spot that you're in now. When it comes to VA benefits, file early. Get that intent to file in as soon as you can. It'll make sense once you do it, I promise. And use your GI Bill wisely. You know, don't go and get a degree just to get a degree. Find something you're passionate about and something you love, and chase that. You'll just chase after something just for money. Translate your skills. 11 Bravo, logistics, leadership. There's so many more things within that than just running and gunning.
That's right.
So something for
that leadership from being an infantryman. I was not 11 Bravo. I was a 18 series, but it's just a glorified infantryman with some language skills and cultural sensitivities and a couple other things in your bag of tricks. But that leadership is key, if you don't know how to twist wires together or run computers or something like that. Hopefully the Army taught you a skill that's going to resonate in the civilian sector.
No, exactly. And, you know, it's hard to translate those skills because, like for me, I didn't realize a lot of what I taught would actually translate until 10 years down the road. And then I started thinking, I'm like, well, shit, I was actually taught that in the military. You know, you don't realize.
Robert, what was your MOS or what was your job in the military?
So I was trained as a retail manager for the Marine Corps Exchange system. Spent a year doing that, and actually took a Marine Corps Exchange to Egypt. So it was one of the first times that they'd shifted back to Marines actually running an exchange in a deployment, which played out in Desert Storm. But then I got transferred or got the field service support group for supporting the 13th MEU, which goes on a Western Pacific. So we trained, for a year and a half to go 6 months on a ship and be prepared to face the enemy, which is the uniqueness of the Marine Corps, right? We're on the water, in the air, and on the land, and ready to be the first ones in. And so yeah, I got to visit 9 different countries through my Marine Corps experience, and got a lot of training. Actually, for me, in the computer, and at the time using WordPerfect. So one of the jobs that I was able to get when I got out was working in a hospital where the transcriptionists type in all the stuff, but they need somebody who could get in and out of the software quickly to make edits. And so the doctors would make corrections, and I got hired to do the editing because I knew all the key codes for WordPerfect. If you remember back then, it had all these F keys, and you had this little bar across the top of the computer. But the Marine Corps taught us that because nobody else was using computers back in the early 90s.
So what was the hardest part about coming back into civilian life after service?
I mean, for me, the biggest thing was I'd married my high school sweetheart my second year in the Marine Corps. And then because of deployment, it trashed my marriage. And so I got divorced. And so really coming back lonely, broken, feeling like a failure, and had a great experience with the Marine Corps. I had great success, but the pressure of being an NCO and losing my marriage just was too much to keep going. And so ended up stepping out of, basically being discharged honorably, and letting it go rather than reenlisting.
Mm-hmm. So what did you find that helped you kind of build structure, and kind of get your life back after you? I mean, honestly,
for me, it was the church.
Okay.
Yeah, I got involved in a local church. I met my current wife there, and got my degree in Bible, and actually became a missionary. And because of my experience in the Marine Corps, I was willing to go to a country like Bogota, Colombia as a missionary. And my wife and I served there for 10 years, raised our children, the young early years of their life in Bogota, Colombia. And then I shifted to a role within the church organization where I traveled to support the missionaries that the church supported all around the world. And so now I've been to 32 countries and supporting ministries in different countries, much like supporting your nonprofit and learning, what you're doing and helping them raise their money and get, keep their organizations functioning.
That's awesome. So how do you go or that's a culture shock. I mean, going from the Marine Corps to doing missionary work in Colombia, that's a heck of a culture shock, I assume. So
I would say no, it's not. Is it, or is it not?
No, I mean, I think the Marine Corps prepared me for some of that. But the great thing about a lot of good mission organizations is they've actually got training to help you transition, and they prepare you for that culture shock. And then the bigger one is our family did a training when we stepped off of the field, when we left Colombia after 10 years, and bringing our children home after 10 years of only experiencing that third culture for the most part, right? We traveled some and visited some, but there were organizations here designed to support missionaries in that transition. And I think the military is missing some of that piece, right? They don't have, we spent a week at a camp in Palmer Lake, Colorado, isolated with only families that were experiencing the same thing. And they trained us of the things to look for. They prepared us for, things your children notice. Like my daughter noticed somebody smoking, and we had a conversation about they'd been so isolated in our missionary experience, working at a church, going to a missionary school, and so seeing people in a different environment. So drinking and smoking wasn't a thing that my children had experienced or seen, and so helping them process some of those things. Our son, my dad had said at one time, he's like, "Why does he always say sorry? Like he's just always his answer was always, 'I'm sorry.'" And it was one of the cultural things that he'd picked up, and it was coming out in his English language. And it wasn't that he was necessarily, it was just the word he was choosing to use instead of the appropriate word. So there was a lot of that really helped our family have some resources and understand the mental effect of transitioning from one culture to another. And so seeing those things happen in the missionary world, recognizing these are the kind of things that the veteran world really needs, right? These tools to transition vets, not just off the field, but off of combat zones or off of overseas service, so that they have the tools to come back. The biggest thing that happened was I was gone for 6 months, and I know that's not a lot in comparison to some deployments nowadays, but in those 6 months, my wife turned 21. She was paying all the bills. She was taking care of business, and I felt like she didn't need me anymore. And we weren't prepared for how to address that, how to deal with that in our relationship.
Yeah, it's that reintegration, and it was a blink of an eye, but at the end of the day, I did 26 years in the Army, and I really saw that metamorphosis of like coming back from Desert Storm. Hey, all right, we got back Friday, have the weekend off, show up Monday, ready to clean guns and stuff, ready to get back to work. Compare and contrast that to as Iraq and Afghanistan were winding down. It was like a POSEX at the end of a trip for a week or more, and classes and sensitivity training and hey, guys, gals, wrap your minds around the fact that they've been doing this without you for the whole time you've been gone. So they got it. Don't show back up and think, well, there's a new sheriff in town, and we're going to go back to daddy's way or mommy's way. So now I can testify that the military the Army for sure has done a lot to reintegrate troops into families, and I hope that they'll continue that progress. But yeah, that's something we didn't do in the old days for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people talk about that the Army doesn't, or the military in general, doesn't prepare them for reintegration and for coming home. And I agree with that to a point, but also, like you said, Michael, big Army, the big Army, they are actually taking steps to get that training in. And a lot of it, to me, comes down to personal responsibility to the individual to take that training and use it. All right. But also part of that would be local, troop level, squad level leadership. In my opinion, there's a pretty big problem with the lower level leadership in the military. And I hate to say that, but when I was in, I don't think very many people really cared about their troops. I think they were more worried about climbing the ladder than they were taking care of their guys. And I apologize for making that a blanket statement, because trust me, I know not every NCO is that way, and I understand that. But I think there's a real cancer that deals with lower level leadership at the unit level, caring more about progress for themselves than they do their troops.
Right.
Well, knowing those services are available is different than, we can say, hey, these services are available, or we can help somebody understand the value and why it's really necessary. Because most of us are arrogant, right? I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. I got it all. Like I got it. Like I got this. And then to have it all blow up in your face because you don't really got it and you didn't know you didn't got it, but you sure thought you had it.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to talk bad about NCOs or anything like that. So please, guys, don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say here.
We got you, but
yeah.
Talking about transitional issues out of a deployment or out of a event, think about this. I think that the most improvement yet to do is for members of the National Guard and reserves. Picture a natural disaster or something like this. You're down triaging a hurricane or tornado areas or something like that, where over the weekend you can literally be tasked to be stacking bodies and clearing houses and cleaning up a mess like that. No transition at all. Monday, plop your ass right back down on your desk at work, at the bank, at wherever you're at. Think about that. Oh my God. That's glaring when you bring it up like that, or when I bring it up like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's what happens. And how do they plug that transition assistance into that other than what they do? And that's, well, if you need help, here's a phone number. We've got counselors, you can
right. I mean, it's a difficult task for sure. Like, I'm not saying that I have the answers, because trust me, I don't. But that's one thing that I have seen better results. I've seen it get better as time goes. But yeah, and another thing, and Michael, you probably know this way better than me. During GWOT, the GWOT era, which is now, I'm not sure what they're calling it, because we're no longer a global war on terrorism. But anyway, so the GWOT era, if I'm not mistaken, the National Guard and Reserve units were actually deployed like twice the times as active units, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I wouldn't say that. I know that I could speak from experience of being relieved by National Guard Special Forces detachments. And and even during the invasion of Afghanistan, I think we were at Karshi Khanabad, K2, and waiting to go in. And there were, I'm going to guess, but there were like 3 or 4 National Guard detachments on the initial invasion going in. So they were definitely getting, I would say, a disproportionate amount of the work when you look at how much time a normal National Guard Green Beret has downrange, especially doing combat operations. It was disproportionately high, but we would literally be relieved by a team who might have been in the National Guard, or a team from a different theater, like a first group team who's used to working in the Far East, come to the Middle East. They would relieve us, but then we would come right back and relieve them. We were doing bookend deployments. So I don't think it was that much, but it was, I will definitely say it was disproportionately higher than what they had ever been asked to do before, from what I had saw.
Right. I just know that that's one of the things that I'd heard a lot, is that the National Guard and Reserve units were deployed at a rate that was higher than active units. It's just, I don't know the truth behind that. It's one of the things that I've heard. But anyway, so we're coming up on an hour, and we should probably take our final break and then get back into to the final segment, which is something I would really like to kind of try and discuss and tie in how Team Room can assist with this. And then that's family in the fight, and how our time in service affects not just us, but our families as well. Our spouses and our children. So once we get back from this last song break, which is going to be another John Major song called Outlaw, I kind of like to discuss that and how Team Room hopes to fill that void.
There was a shooting 5 miles from my hometown. Now they're talking about taking our guns and the protesters hanging around. Said guns kill people right on the TV. If that was the truth, then my 30-06 would have killed more deer than me. We need to stick the crazies in a painted room, right where they need to be. Take them unknown down to the holler, let them swing by an old oak tree. That old clock keeps on ticking, we can't turn it back. It's time that we take our country back. If Grandpa could only see today, he'd probably roll over in his grave, 'cause he bled nothing but the red, the white, and the blue. He got so many bruises and scars to fight for all damn 50 stars on a flag that folks nowadays wanna walk on to. They're trying to take prayer out of our school. We need to stick the crazies in a painted room, right where they need to be. Take them unknowns down to the holler, let them swing by an old oak tree. That old clock keeps on ticking, we can't turn it back. It's time that we take our country back. We can start by not sending money overseas. Let's help out our own and give it to a vet living on the street. Stick the crazies in a painted room, right where they need to be. Take the criminals down to the holler, let them swing by an old oak tree. That old clock keeps on ticking, we can't turn it back. It's time that we take. It's about damn time that we take our country back.
Woo! Yes, sir. Hey, Jesus taught us to love our neighbors, right? You're all of our neighbors, and tonight and all weekend we'll be here playing music. So please come on, bring a pocket with some money in it. He's got to get home. We got to feed the man, and the donations are always good for a nonprofit, right? So thank each and every one of you for coming and giving us your time and your attention. God bless you guys. Thank you.
And if any of you are veterans, thank you for your service.
Gentleman right here. There's one right there.
Yeah, raise your hand.
All right, so welcome back. So I let that video play a little bit past when he stopped, because I wanted everybody to kind of see Miss Sheila and Greg Patton. They were with us at Charlotte, and they were with us again in Nashville. Were they with you in Atlanta by chance, Michael?
No, actually, they were up in Alaska for their annual Gold Star Peak climb. There's a mountain in Alaska. I know there's lots of mountains in Alaska, but this one seems to be it sounds like it's a really big one, and it's a vacation for Gold Star families. For those that don't know, that's a family that actually lost immediate relative to combat. And so they go out there, and that is a peer-to-peer support group for them, where they can all rekindle their relationships that they have with other families and each other. That's where they were. And they both, Greg and Sheila, made it up Gold Star Peak, and they were so.
That's awesome.
I think that they were relieved that they made it, but I told Greg when I talked to him on Friday or Saturday, I said, "You're too honored to quit at anything." he's
that isn't that the truth?
Well, my niece didn't know that I was too honored to quit. I almost did, but
I'm ready to hang out with those guys again. You know, Sheila and Greg are great people, and they're doing great things for Gold Star families as well as veterans in general. I love those people. Here soon on Facebook and on the YouTube, I'm going to be posting up a video of Sheila giving a speech at Memorial Day. And she shares about her son and about what they do with us and how they try to help check a vet. But that'll be coming up. I'll try to have that out on Facebook around the 4th. I missed Memorial Day, but I'll have it up there for the 4th. Sheila, I'm sorry. I know you're probably mad at me, but great speech. I loved it.
That's one lady I don't want mad at me.
Oh, man.
I'm a bear because bears got teeth and claws.
You got that right. If do you remember the name of the book that Greg was telling us that his friend wrote that was about him?
Hold on, I'll plug it right now.
Okay. So, and by the way, for those of you that are asking, did you say Patton? Yes, I said Patton. There you go. Gut, Smart, and Love. It's about multiple gentlemen, but Greg's story is in there.
It's mostly about the Patton family.
It's mostly about the Patton family. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's mostly about Greg and Sheila.
But yeah, so that's a book about Greg and Sheila Patton, and they lost their son in 2010. Greg was actually in Afghanistan. He was in Afghanistan, wasn't he?
No, I think Greg was in Iraq, and his son Jimmy was in James was in Afghanistan, and so I met the Pattons back in 2010, and we'll segue this into family and the fight and team room and that stuff too. But what a powerful story. I met the Pattons in, I think, 2010 when I was attending the notification officer course. So that is the classes that we take to put our uniform on and go and knock on a door and notify somebody that they've lost their immediate family member in combat. That's hardest thing I've ever had to do. Thankfully, I only had to do it once. But Sheila was my instructor for that. And none of us knew until the last day when she was really talking about the importance of it. And she shared her story because both her husband and her son were deployed in combat at the same time. And she got notification. Can you freaking imagine? And she was like, just tell me who it is. Just tell me who it is. I have to know. Like, just tell me who it is. So that's how I met him. And that's kind of the circumstance of what happened. So and then Greg was actually a brigade command sergeant major, literally responsible for about 15,000 troops of some of the most elite infantrymen in the Army in the 187 out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So had a lot of heart-to-heart conversations with him about what that was like and how the grieving process and stuff was for him and his struggles. But, you know, he's such a patriot and such a hero that he said the gist of it was he didn't have time to worry about himself. He had 15 other families, 15 other fathers, that he had to represent and go and make sure their sons, it was all men in the infantry then, like jump right back in and get after, right after he lost his son, literally a day or two after the service. So that's the circumstance.
Yeah, Greg actually, Iraq, Afghanistan, whichever. But Greg actually left to go get Jimmy and bring him home.
That's right. And he escorted the body back.
Yeah, he escorted him back, and then he went right back. He went back to the combat. I mean, he wasn't gone very long, and he come right back to combat and did his job, which to me is just it's crazy. That's.
But I mean, let's use that to talk about family and the fight, and how I think through transition and the time in the service, when it was all said and done, I had served 11 tours in combat. And I think that, the wars are, really fought off of the emotions of mothers and wives, and the families back at home. And Mom, if you're watching, and I know that you are, I can't imagine what I put you through, and I'm sorry. But wow, because we're there, we're in the fight, we're downrange doing our day to day, whether it's, today we got a break and, got to go to Baghdad to the PX or something. But every day they're home and just worrying. That takes a special toll on a person to have dealt with that. And so but families in the fight for sure.
Yeah, families absorb the war just as much, if not more, than we do. Spouses walk on eggshells. The kids grow up confused and scared. Parents feel hopeless. It's secondary trauma. It's real, but just like PTS, it's treatable. But families, I think, don't get a lot of the. I don't think people realize how big of a toll it takes on family members.
Right. And it was Cricket, friends of the organization's volunteers, Stephen Cricket. A little shout out to Cricket. She actually uses the term, I'm a veteran survivor. And I was like, well, what the hell is a veteran survivor? Think about it. That's somebody who is raised by a veteran. And I think that's understandably a childhood that's going to be different from the folks next door, because of the things that veteran has been through, has suffered with, and the wounds that didn't that you can't necessarily see. So yeah, for sure. Veteran survivor. Thank you, Cricket. Think about it.
I like that. I like that term.
A little bit more meaningful than Army brat, huh?
Definitely. So I told you guys in the very beginning that if you guys wanted to say something in a break, we got a message board over here where you can chat. And I just now checked it. And I found something out about Rob that I think is awesome. So you said that you're a Motor Racing Outreach Association chaplain and you work with your local track to talk with drivers and teams and helping them the way that we help vets. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I think that's
awesome. Absolutely. So they're just they're a community that I think a lot of veterans participate. A lot of families participate, and so there's race car drivers, but then there's the whole family around the race car driver making their racing happening, whether it's the mom in the stands or in the pit crew, or so we're available, not just for drivers but for their entire family, and it's really for us it's a ministry of presence, right? We're establishing trust in that community, much like I think you guys want to do with your teams, that having a team room where guys and gals have seen each other enough times and established trust that, hey, they're going to show up. Hey, they're not going to talk trash about us. They're not going to judge us for whatever we share with them. And that relationship where we can start to recognize somebody's normal, to go back to the term Michael used at the very beginning. And so being present in somebody's life enough to know they're normal and be able to have those kind of conversations. And that's why I'm a huge fan of your team room concept and what it can develop, because it's going to create those relationships of trust. It's going to create those opportunities, and trust with the family, I think, is just as important as trust with the veteran themselves. To know that you're not just here for the veteran, you're here for their entire family, in whatever way that looks like, right? To how do we make this better for all of the victims of the things that are going on, and not just seeing the veteran as someone that's broken, right? Because that's a lot of people feel like that's something that's happening, rather than this is a situation where we can educate and help an entire family deal with this reality of happening. And it's not that somebody's broken, it's that they've experienced something different than most people have experienced. And now that's impacting their relationship with their spouse, their relationship with their parents, and their relationship with their children. And all of them need the tools to be able to address that. And so I think it's fantastic that you guys are bringing that awareness to not just the veterans, but to their spouses, to their parents, and making some things available for their families, because the impact is, I mean, we know the impact. Michael just gave us those numbers. And we don't want kids to be losing their parents outside of combat. That's ridiculous, right? And so we need to keep supporting organizations like Check a Vet, and the tools that you're creating and the things that you're bringing together to support veterans are just incredible. And so I'm proud to have contributed and to be a part of what you're doing, even if it was just a conversation that Michael and I had at a NASCAR track.
But wait, there's more. Robert, I'm a guy who learned in the Army to always reward good work with more work, right? So you've done some good work with this interview. I'm glad we had you. But let's talk about rewarding you with more work. Last year we were the official nonprofit of Demo One, which Demo Motorsports nationalized a championship demolition derby, and they did it at the last great Coliseum, and that's Bristol, Tennessee.
Nice.
So we've been invited back this year. It'll be a couple weeks. So I think it's going to be in September. I have to double check. It's called Demo 3. And love to have you come out. We'll cover your airfare, but you working as a chaplain and you doing that, because Check a Vet is a ministry, and we need more people like you to help us do the tough work. So there's the invite. You don't have an excuse not to come. We're going to cover your food and your travel. So
my wife loves traveling to Tennessee, and Bristol's one of our favorite spots. So
yeah, and hey, last time, I don't know how many times I actually drove the Check a Vet truck around Bristol, the track. Nice. And the first time we did it, we were so excited to kind of steal the opportunity to drive around it. We were there for the race, and then the following weekend, we got invited to Demo 1, which was going to be the following weekend. So we just left the Check a Vet trailer there, right? And we didn't really pack anything up. We literally kind of stacked the tables inside, be like, see you in a week, we're going to just pick up where we left off. And we got out and we got to drive onto the track to get to where we were. Well, here I am. I look around the track and there's nobody there. And I'm like, sometimes you just got to ask for forgiveness instead of
that's
permission,
right.
right?
Oops.
So I started taking hot laps in the Checkavet truck with a trailer that's 30 feet long and loaded.
Did Turbo get pictures? We need video.
Hey, no,
there is video.
There's a social media post that has all of this. And if you stop, the wall at Bristol is so steep, you can't walk up it.
Right.
Maybe unless you're wearing climbing shoes. If you stop a car on it, the car will roll down the wall. It's that steep. So to have a trailer loaded with crap, I was literally driving that thing about 80 miles an hour around a half-mile track, which is teeny tiny, and gripping and grinning. But then the first thing that happened is I got pulled over by the sheriff. Like the track had hired a couple of off-duty cops to be there with their cars. So we're shooting we had a camera out and we're shooting the social media post, we're putting it together. Cop comes out and he's like, hey, what are you doing? You can't drive around the track like that. And,
I'm looking for my parking spot.
What do you do? Yeah. And I was like, just like in Star Wars, to Jedi mind screw this guy. Like, these aren't the droids you're looking for. I literally looked at him. I said, it's okay, officer. We're shooting a social media post. And he looked at me and he was like, oh, well, all right, then help yourself. And I was like, that shit worked, man. Anyways, come to Bristol with us and we'll let you take a hot lap around the track. Yeah, I get goosebumps.
Pushing all the right buttons.
Just thinking about it, but super fun. Dustin Woods, he says he's going to put me in a car this year. I'm all about it. Probably my family won't want me to do that, but I want to do it. I still got that thing in me where I like adventure and I like fun. But please come on out and join us. We'll get you taken care of.
That sounds great, Michael.
Cool.
But hey,
it's
this
always
whole
a
thing
blast
was
to
supposed
call
to be
Michael.
about a guitar. You haven't told me anything about it.
Share the story of the guitar, Mike.
499 other people bought tickets, and you're the one that won it.
Those poor people.
So we got Brantley Gilbert's guitar through a very dear friend of mine. He likes his anonymity, so I'll leave his name out of it. But as the story goes, the real story of Checkavet, he was the first one to. I was a part of a different organization with a completely different model. They said they were going to prevent veteran suicide by hunting and fishing and sporting events and going to concerts model. Well, I knew in the beginning, to me, that simply doesn't work because it's missing the two key ingredients, and that's meaningful and routine. Those are once in a lifetime events. But we were at one, and this fella, he said, is this the model to prevent veteran suicide? And I was like, no, man, this is silly. These are once in a lifetime events where we're trying to find veterans who are struggling to uplift them. But as far as a sustainable model to try to keep somebody's gun out of their mouth, this ain't it. And so he asked me, what would I do? And it's, hey, we have to raise awareness. We have to get Americans involved in their veterans' lives, and we have to provide education. Big guy, looks like he just skated off the ice. Used to be missing his front middle teeth as a badge of honor, just like really intimidating dude. And he comes and he grabbed a hold of me. He said, Michael, you have to do that. So, so a dear friend of mine gave me that guitar from Brantley's camp, and said, make the most of it, and we'll see what happens. And that guitar, we sold 500 tickets at $20 a piece. So that's $10,000 that helped us fundraise. And, being in the church and being a part of other ministries, I don't need to tell you what a $10,000 impact has on a grassroots organization like Czechovat. It's tremendous.
Well, I just appreciate the guy that I bought the ticket from taping mine to the bottom.
That's not what happened.
Oh.
As soon as Turbo posts it, we found a little kid. His name was Dallas, as a special kid. And we had all of the tickets there. And I said, buddy, you just need to put your hand in there and you got to find that one ticket. Find the one. And he pulled your ticket. So there you go.
That's
got Dallas.
crazy. I mean, it's
How many tickets did you buy?
I think you did 6 for $100. So I think I did. Yeah, I gave $100 and
perfect.
It was. But I mean, obviously we were at Texas Motor Speedway, so we walked away from the Speedway. And I'm like, I didn't think anything of it. Like I figured it was over and done with. And we were watching the Atlanta race.
He bought 50 tickets. 50. 50
He's probably mad at me now.
No, because he is self-proclaimed the most unlucky person that he knows, but he's still trying.
Well,
I hope he saved it up for something big, because Jordan, that money was very precious to us, and it came at a time where we really needed it. But he had 50 tickets in there. I appreciate that I got the prize, but I absolutely didn't do it for the prize. Absolutely.
I'm sure very few did.
Speaking of big,
Michael, this week.
Are you ready to release the information we talked about the other day, or are we still keeping a hold on that?
Type out what you're talking about in the chat. Oh, yeah, we can release this. So we do have a next raffle. Patriot Adventures, Gabby and Joe, they just hosted us at the Atlanta race at Echo Park, the artist formerly known as Atlanta Motor Speedway. So at Echo Park in Atlanta, Georgia, they hosted us, and they're starting up a nonprofit to help other nonprofits accomplish their mission by providing temporary lodging in the form of campers and stuff. So Gabby said, hey, what would you think about the next prize being a weekend trip to the race? So you'll have to provide your transportation there. But what Czechovat's going to do, if you win, we're going to put up 6 people in a camper. So you and five of your friends can come down. You can occupy the camper as early as Thursday and leave as late as Monday and hang out and get the whole NASCAR experience. And that includes tickets and a place to stay for the whole time for you and 5 of your buddies. So how's that?
Race at Echo Park?
At Echo Park. Yep. One of the two races next year.
I'll buy the first 5 tickets.
Really?
Of course. Why not?
Okay. Well, they're $500 a piece. I mean, that's a big
make it happen.
Have your accountant call my accountant.
I'm supposed to have an accountant.
If you're just kicking around money like that, you probably do have an account.
I don't.
No, yeah. So we'll peel off the first 5 tickets of that. We're going to sell 1,000 tickets because that's a lot bigger prize than a guitar. I wish it would last as long as the actually having something in your hand. But how long does the memory last, especially something like that?
Hey, somebody better get a camera. you know what? Everybody now has a phone that's got a heck of a camera on it. Make sure to make those memories.
Perfect.
But I really appreciate the conversation, and Rob, I really enjoyed having you here, and I'm glad we got to speak. And it's been a lot better than us just saying, "Hey, man, you won the guitar." This has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. And Carmichael, like always, brother, I love you. It's been great chatting with you.
I love you too, man. You're doing a great job with the podcast. You're doing a great job with our newsletter. Should be released in the next couple of weeks. Our first episode of the newsletter, we're just consolidating email addresses and trying to deal with MailChimp. It's not as user friendly. It's not knuckle dragger proof, that's for sure. So as soon as we get those email addresses figured out, we'll have that. And Turbo, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, knowing my luck, it's probably just a comma instead of a period somewhere. That's causing all the issues that I'm having.
.com, not .com.
Oh man, but now I got to go through 200 emails manually and figure out where the error is at and why it won't upload. So that's great.
That's right.
But anyways, so I appreciate both of your time, and I'd love to speak with you guys again sometime. But yeah, so this has been Turbo with Check a Vet, and hope to see you guys later.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us, giving our veterans